Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, I have a powerfully informative, terrifying, what have you upload. Before we get into it, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Today's first part of the upload. This encounter was told to me by my childhood friend's dad. My friend and I have known each other for quite some time. Most of that time he lived right in town. This is an 8,000 population town, literally in the dead center of Illinois. On the edge of town, on a country highway, there's remnants of a small pig farm and slaughterhouse, which is now all run down. That land of which his family used to hunt in the 80s. Cue our 8th grade year, and he tells me he's moving out to the country to a new neighborhood that's being built. Some upscale homes. His dad had been promoted at the local power plant. This was a mile from the farm/slaughterhouse. I started staying out at his house much more than usual because, well, it's awesome. Lots of money went into it. We would explore the woods during the day, as this was about 98, 99, and then would spend our nights inside listening to music and messing with Yahoo chat groups. Anyway, one day out in the woods, we came across a pond, pretty decent size. And there's a small island in the middle. My friend sees this and immediately goes pale, tells me we gotta go. He hightails it out without waiting for me, and I follow. As we're running, I keep asking, what's going on? But he's not answering me. We finally make it back to his house, and his parents are sitting in the kitchen as we come through his garage. They see his face and ask what's wrong. He looks at his dad and tells him that he had found the pond. His dad looks at him and then looks sick. I ask again what's going on. Now his dad's a pretty straight-laced fellow, not really a sense of humor to speak of since I met him, and would only enjoy a glass of expensive whiskey when he was in the mood. He decides now is one of those moods. After getting his glass and taking a sip, he makes us promise to stay away from there and tells us his encounter. When he was younger, his dad took him and his brother out to hunt out there. This incident happened when he was about 19 and well seasoned. They got out early and decided to set up by this pond. Slow day. Only a couple of deer that weren't worth anything. Starting to get the idea a new spot was needed, they heard some rustling from outside the pond across from them. It was a wolf, but those aren't here. Not a thing in our area, at least not capable of walking to a pond. Looking at it, it was investigating. Then it stood up on its hind legs, walked that way swam to the middle, but walked up to the island again on two legs, stood there before lying down and what seemed to fall asleep. They decided to make sure that it was out and slowly backed up, getting back to the truck as quick as possible, never going back to hunt there again. Again, this was told to me quite some time ago, but has always stuck with me. My friend's dad never joked with us. He never seemed to have much of a humor at all, never scared us, never really made another person laugh. Today's second encounter. All right, I totally understand if no one believes this because we're still unsure of what the heck happened. But we sat down and came to the consensus on the events, and all agreed we witnessed the same thing. Myself, three buddies were hiking Thursday and Friday in the San Bernardino National Forest, various trails, mostly the known ones, and mostly during the day. Friday, we were making our way to Clark's Summit. As we're walking, one by one, we notice that we're veering off the trail. I ask my friend in front of me why he's going off the trail, and he asks our friend who is in front of him the same thing. The friend in front of us tells us that they can hear a woman talking. You guys don't hear it? We didn't hear anything. We tried to convince her to leave it be because it's already kind of dark and we're close to where we wanted to set up camp on the trail. The friend in front is female and insisted that what she heard sounded like a female calling for help and that she sounded really close. So I think she felt inclined to investigate a possible female in distress. Well, we were totally okay with going about our business. So at this point, I'm spooked because she's absolutely serious, and we cannot hear anything she's hearing. Here's where it gets weird. We only ventured off the trail about 300 to 400 meters, yet at one point we're completely lost. We don't have any fancy gear or GPS stuff because we've never needed it. But we've been on this trail enough to know we hadn't gone far. Yet we couldn't find the trail in any direction after walking for about 15 to 20 minutes. I started to feel weird, kind of dizzy, lightheaded. And when I mentioned this to the other two, they said they felt weird as well. It was like something had changed the environment around us or moved us somehow to another location. I had no idea which way to go, and now it's completely dark. My female friend said the woman's voice said that I'm over here, please help me. She said it sounded like she's hurt or crying. So here we are, somehow lost after only walking about 20 minutes off a large trail because my friend is hearing voices. We decide to stop walking in any direction because the last thing you want to do at night is get even more lost. We had 2 tents and sleeping bags in our packs. So we found a clearing and set up. We figured once the sun was out, we'd easily find our way back to the trail. Before we could even lie down and rest, I noticed a tree near us was moving as if something was climbing it. It's really dark, and I wore glasses, so I really struggled to see. So I called them over to look. I thought it was an animal at first, but it wasn't an animal, it wasn't anything. I could see the outline of what roughly looked like a human shape, but it was transparent, like completely see through. The best way I can describe it is the way heat waves look on the pavement in the summer. You know, the wavy liquid effect. They saw it as well. My male buddy said, "What the hell are we looking at?" when he finally spotted it. They all said the same thing. It was transparent but still visible due to the foliage around it being displaced and moving as it moved. We all just stood stone, still whispering theories back and forth as what we thought we were looking at. I thought maybe it was some kind of optical illusion, but they both immediately jumped to aliens, of course. The thing just sat there, perched on a large branch about 50 feet up. It's like it was watching us watch it. The other oddity is that after staring at this thing for about 10 minutes, we noticed all the normal forest sounds we heard prior had completely stopped. I mean, the only noise was us talking and the leaves under our feet. The hairs on my neck stood up, and I had goosebumps all over when I realized this. Like something was truly wrong. After about 10 minutes of us standing there, whatever this thing was started to climb up the tree even more until we could no longer see it. We approached the base of the tree slowly and walked around in a circle with our necks craned up trying to look at this thing. It was too dark and the trees were too close for us to see to the top. We didn't hear it jump to another tree, so we assumed that it was still up there. We're all too spooked, obviously, to camp right underneath whatever this thing was, so we gathered our stuff and started to walk toward the moon. I kid you not, after 5 minutes of walking, we're back on the trail. I literally dropped my bag and said, "What the heck?" out loud. We all stood there confused, trying to confirm what we had saw. My buddy likes to joke and said maybe we walked through some hallucinogenic spores and had imagined it all. I highly doubt that, but whatever happened, it seemed kind of, I guess, predatory. Like it seems like something was luring us or trying to confuse us. My friend still thinks we were screwing with her about not hearing the woman she claimed to hear. Was it the thing that we saw imitating this woman? How did we get lost off the trail? This was easily the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in the wilderness, and we still don't have a good theory as to what happened. Or what that creature was. It may not have been an alien, but whatever it was humanoid and 100% transparent, somehow able to climb a really large tree with ease without making much noise. I should also mention no drugs were consumed, we weren't drinking. Today's third encounter. Here are two experiences that my stepdad and I had both down in Louisiana. My experience: it gets really hot down here during the summer, so to cool off, many of the residents of my town like to go and enjoy a boat ride down the river for a swim, fishing, tubing at various sandbars. My favorite sandbar is about 7 to 10 minute boat ride with maybe 30 feet of sand between the river and the woods and swamp. My sister, mom, my stepdad, and myself loaded up in my boat and cruised to the sandbar for a late afternoon catfishing trip. It's usually full of boats and people, but it was just us. As the sun's going down, my stepdad is telling his bayou stories and claims he can summon the rougarou. Out of curiosity, my sister and I gave him the go ahead. We were both in our 20s, by the way. He takes a piece of driftwood in each hand and knocks them together twice, making loud, echoing noises. A few seconds go by, and maybe 100 feet into the woods, something knocks back. We got out of there real quick. I don't think I've loaded that boat so quick before. Never tried to knock for the rougarou again either. My stepdad's experience: maybe 10 years ago, he was night fishing and set out with some jug lines with one of his buddies. Well, they waited in the dark for the fish to start nibbling on their bait. They started telling their bayou stories. The particular bayou they stopped to wait in wasn't wide at all, maybe 25 feet with woods and swamp on either side. So stepdad tells his buddy that if he hollers for the rougarou will holler back. Stepdad then lets out this hurrah. As soon as he's finished his call, maybe 10 feet into the woods, the loudest rah came back at him. He and his buddy had left that bayou so quick. They went back to the camp and didn't retrieve their jug lines until the following morning. Because of the proximity of the call, the loudness, and the sheer spook factor, stepdad still refuses to go down to that particular bayou. All right, guys, we're going to talk about something different for the fourth part of the upload. Now, with all of the crazy things going on in the national forests and state parks, you'd think that, you know, people would kind of not talk about what is talked about, on my channel and, in other areas. The missing persons, the Dogman, the Sasquatch, the creature that I call the Fleshgate, or some call the Crawler, whatever you want to call it. It's just scary, or feral people. Now, this this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. This is a brochure for Ferber Resorts in the Zion Campground National Park in Utah. And I guess what they're going to do is they're going to kind of debunk the lies with the truth? Check this out and tell me if you were a campground manager, if this is how you would uh, attract customers. You must have heard the urban legends of people living in the forests and jungles, but have you heard the rumors about feral people living in the United States' national park? These speculations are widespread and they discourage hikers and potential campers from going out and having fun in such places. Interestingly, there are variations, and you will hear different stories from different people. Feral people, national parks, and missing persons. Despite the outspread rumors about Sasquatch, Dogman, cannibalistic, and feral populations in national parks of the United States, there is little evidence of the reality. As a matter of fact, most of the missing person cases are due to injuries, old age, and the inability to navigate a trail when hiking alone. Moreover, missing persons list in the United States National Park Service suggests most people who went missing were either very old or very young. Feral people are those that live in the forest for as long as they may exist. Therefore, people believe that feral people are accustomed to feeding on other humans slash cannibalism. More importantly, there is no evidence, reports, or even official documentation and digital capture of feral people in national parks. It may all be a hoax or just plain theories formulated due to the fear of strange places. Just in case, also remember that rumors and theories came directly from sources such as YouTube, TikTok. For many people, these are not valid sources for information on important discussions such as feral people inhabiting national parks. The rationality of park disappearances. Many different ideas and theories back the park disappearances, especially those from national parks. For that reason, it is up to the officials to rightly point out the possibility of valid theories and rule out unnecessary and misleading ones. Officials can provide rational explanations behind how disappearances may have occurred under certain varying circumstances. For example, officials often suggest that inexperienced hikers and mountaineers get lost, which makes them sick, often due to lost feeling. Other times, it's harsh weather conditions, lack of ability to navigate. All in all, hikers and park goers who get lost usually succumb to illness. As a business that provides resorts and camping service, safety and security are a must. It is not too often that you leave your house to go on a hiking trail with strangers into the woods you have never seen before. Safety and security come from intelligent, proactive, agile, informative, energetic, and compassionate hiking and camping guides. For that reason, Ferber Resorts employs capable guides for your camping and hiking adventures. At Ferber Resorts, we have knowledgeable guides and expert resources for you to make use of your hiking trips to the national parks of Utah. The Zion Campground attracts a large number of hikers and vacation goers who leave favorable reviews and encourage others. So pretty much what they're doing is they know that these things are out there, and they're saying, well, we know people know they're out there, so you know what? Let's debunk the lies with the truth. Let's say, guys, guess what? We know what's being said. We know that, you know, people are saying this stuff is out there. And we're going to talk about it with you guys. But you know what? It really doesn't. Because why? Because we told you it doesn't. Because we want you to come to our campground and spend your money. And don't worry about feral people or dogmen or Sasquatch or what have you. Because only the old and young go missing. Inexperienced hikers. Well, you know what? That's not true because the majority of the hikers that have disappeared this year have been rather skilled. Just look at the Navy SEAL. Just look at his brother. I mean, the list continues. There are skilled hikers, skilled campers, skilled woodsmen disappearing. But yet, At Zion National Forest at the Ferber Resort, we will keep you safe from feral people, Dogman, and Sasquatch. I just thought I'd share this with you because this is just hilarious. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys laughed at that. So, for the fifth part of the upload, because feral people, Dogman, and Sasquatch, and what have you don't exist, I live in Colorado, and I like to spend my weekends in the mountains, fly fishing, hiking, camping, etc. I'm in my early 20s, so young, I suppose, but I like to think I'm generally comfortable in the mountains, and I've seen quite a bit of what this state has to offer. My older brother is like me, but even more experienced in the mountain wilderness. And yesterday, he and I decided to go fishing at our favorite hole of ours in the Holy Cross Wilderness. This area is fairly well trafficked, especially now as the aspens are changing and lots of tourists come to see them. Bluebird skies, warmish weather, and he and I were just getting in the water when I first felt something was off. It was late morning at this point. Most people like to fish in the early morning, but this hole is blocked by the sun by a cliff face, and the fish don't usually start biting till closer to noon. Again, this is our favorite hole because, despite the area having lots of hikers and day trippers, this part of the creek we're on takes some know how to effort and hike it. So we're about a half a mile away and we're at the park and no one else is around. First thing I notice is very little wildlife, ambience, background noise after we set up our rods and get in the water. As I'm wading in, I hear rocks above us on the cliff move. A couple fall into the water no more than 50 feet from us. That's odd. In my probably 15 to 20 times at this spot, never have I witnessed the cliff fall apart as it appeared to have done. Beside the sound on the creek we're standing in, it's deathly quiet, and the sound of the rocks falling and hitting the water made us both jump. My brother turns around and we both look at the cliff face. There's a ledge above with trees, and I had never given it any thought before, but I realized then and there I felt like someone not only could be up on that, but my gut tells me that there is. My brother, I can tell, seemed to be contemplating things as well. He literally turned to me a minute after the rock fell and said, "Okay, that was weird, right?" I told him, "Yeah." And then I hesitantly told him, "Hey, it's quiet today." Almost on cue, a rock lands in the water. This time it's between us. I'm not kidding. We're near this cliff face, but not near it enough for a rock just to fall off and land between us. No, this rock had to have been thrown. We look up and saw it, a person holding a rock in their hand, naked as all get out with long brown hair. And as we are looking up at him, and it looks like he grins and throws a rock down at us. It got close to hitting my brother, and immediately we're yelling, "Hey, what the heck?" Quickly wading back to the other side of the creek. My brother slipped, and the person must have thrown another rock at him because I heard a big kerplunk, and my brother is yelling bloody murder. I get to the bank and grabbed a rock in my hand and threw it back at the cliff. They're no longer there, keeping my eyes on the cliff ledge. I offer my hand to my brother as he's now soaked and pulled him up off the bank. He's pissed, saying he'll get his gun from his car and shoot that guy, and saying he could have been killed. Now we're both on the bank looking up and expecting rocks to come flying, and sure enough, they do. But we can't see who's throwing them. But they're golf ball to football sized rocks being tossed down. From memory, I counted a total of 7 rocks. My brother throws a rock over at the ledge, but I tell him we should move. We weave through the river, willows, looking back over at the foliage to keep an eye on the ledge, and then we hear it. A howl, a blood-curdling scream from that direction. I didn't see the creature or being, but it had to have been making that noise. We get back to the car and both start recollecting what we experienced. We both figured it must have been some deranged homeless guy or something. But it's not only, I told my girlfriend when we got home last night, and she told me about feral people she hears on TikTok. I don't have TikTok, and I'll be honest, I'm starting to learn about these feral people. Neither of us were hit by the rocks, although my brother says that one that I didn't see was so close it splashed him and is why he fell in the water. I should note we drove to the National Park Ranger's office and filed a report under my brother's name. He was told he'd be given a call today or earlier this week with any follow up questions they may need to answer. Craziest crap I've ever experienced while out in those mountains. We both already saying we may never go back to that hole again. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Yeah, man, there. I love how the government, the media, and now the park resorts are going to lie to us. Well, they're all the same anyway. Who do we trust nowadays? Who can we trust? You know, it's pretty sad that we can't trust anyone except ourselves and our own gut feelings. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I want to thank everybody for all of your support, and with that, I want to bid you farewell.